As I look over the Fitzhugh, I think about what challenges me, what bothers me, and I think this is a key passage here. The Negro slaves of the South are the happiest and, in some sense, the freest people in the world. The children and the aged and infirm work not at all, and yet have all the comforts and necessaries of life provided for them. They enjoy liberty because they are pressed neither by care nor labor. The women do little hard work and are protected from the despotism of their husbands by their masters. The Negro men and stout boys work, on the average, in good weather, not more than 9 hours a day. The balance of their time is spent in perfect abandon. The balance of their time is spent in perfect abandon. Besides, they have their Sabbaths and holidays. White men, with so much license and liberty, would die of ennui, but Negroes luxuriate in corporeal and mental repose. With their faces upturned to the sun, they can sleep and at any hour, and quiet sleep is the greatest of human enjoyments. I'm just going to pause there for a second. It's a difficult passage to read. I mean, it's so deeply racist, it's hard to read it aloud. If you read any of the accounts of people who were born in slavery, who experienced slavery, I think it's clear that Fitzhugh's characterization of what was like life was like for a slave in the American South is simply false. Women did work, children worked, everybody worked, and the conditions under which they worked were terrible. So the picture that he paints, I have no doubt, is a false one. But the thing about Fitzhugh is that the picture he paints of the northern white industrial worker, factory worker, seems to me to be correct. That is, his idea that they are exploited and that the property owners, the factory owners, the people who have capital, that they live like, this is what I call cannibals, that they live like cannibals because they live off of other people, not their flesh, but their labor. That is correct. That is his characterization of what life was like for a poor person, a poor working person in the North, is actually correct. So I would say the weakness, the fatal weakness of Fitzhugh's argument here is his false characterization of what life was like for black people in the South who were enslaved. It wasn't like this at all. So that sort of destroys his point, but it does point up, again, the attitudes, I think, that people like Douglas were fighting against. The idea that the slave is taken care of and is better off being a slave than being free is the fundamental idea here. Fitzhugh thought that slavery should not be race based. Fitzhugh thought that slavery was a better form of social organization than a capitalist economy. So Fitzhugh thought that most white people would be better off being slaves too, and actually thought that that would be a better form of society than modern industrial democratic society. Um, but his view here, the picture he paints of what life is actually like, is it's racist. There's no question about it. Because the idea here is that most people are so simple that they're better off being taken care of as slaves than being on their own as workers where they're more exploited. I don't think that that argument holds up, but it is, I think was a very strong idea, certainly in the American South. I mean, I think the fundamental and inescapable um, argument from the point of view of anybody, from Aristotle in the ancient world to George Fitzhugh in the 1800s in America, who wants to defend slavery, is that the slave is better off being a slave than they would be being free. And that is, that goes against everything, really, that everything we've been reading has been arguing for. But I think it's important to acknowledge that, and that attitude existed, and that was one of the that was one of the things that people like Douglas were arguing against, trying to overcome.